Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Clear Method, where I teach you about high level business strategy. This is for business owners who have revenue, who have been in business for a while, but are looking to kind of grow because they're feeling stuck or they've been in a tricky transition. You are in the right place. And my Clear Method will hopefully give you some new ideas and new inspiration to get your energy back into your business. So you are in the right place. If you have revenue, but you may not have growth or profits, this is perfect for you. You might understand what you're currently doing is no longer working. You might feel exhausted, burnt out, maybe hit a wall, fantasize about getting out. I've been there myself, whether it's the industry or the business, and you're not feeling excited about your business again. Let's get your joy back because business is fun. We just have to remember and design it accordingly. And if you are just starting out an idea phase or you're a solopreneur, maybe you're a tech startup looking for funding, this is probably isn't going to be the best presentation for you. Or if you value comfort, because I'm all about reinvention, re-energizing, and looking for expansion and growth, or looking to work with people who are looking to expand and to grow. So I want to start with my journey and kind of how I got here. And I owned my very first business in 2009, and it was a high end men's hair salon in downtown Minneapolis. And I think we all get to this place of our business where you do what you know, right? You kind of make it up, you get a little creative, you kind of start producing, and it's working, and you're moving along. For me, about 7 years in, I lost my about 50% of my revenue overnight. And I did what every business owner did or should do is you step up, right? I thought I was already working hard, but now I had to work harder. But I did it. I showed up for my customers and my other staff, and I worked, and I still had to show up for my partner back home, but it was like I didn't have time. I didn't have time to rest. I didn't have time to think clearly. I didn't have time to re-strategize or restructure. And about 4 months later, actually, is my frozen tears moment where I was walking home and it was just the point of exhaustion where a nap won't help. It was complete defeat, and I didn't know if I could go any further. And it was also one of those moments where time just stopped. It was like I remember the buildings, I remember what I was wearing, I remember the time of day, everything about that moment I remembered. And I remember thinking to myself, what I'm currently doing is no longer working. If I rebuild my business the exact same way, the exact same thing is going to happen in another 5 or 7 years. And I also realized that I had hit a wall into the knowledge that I had to expand and grow with my current network. And so what happened was I decided in that moment I was never going to be put in this position again. It kind of reignited a fire in me, I guess. And I said, I'm going to do this differently. And so I started studying business the way that I studied my craft. And I thought there's got to be something. There's plenty of people who have built businesses. I've got to learn. Success leaves clues. So I got highly focused. I started getting business coaches. I started putting my plans together, getting really clear. And what felt like out of nowhere came this opportunity, which was a business was closing. And when it was closing, there was a sign on the door. This was a Sunday that they were closing on Thursday. And so by Thursday, I had a whole new business, a whole new staff, and I got into it, and it was kind of financially not viable. It wasn't profitable at all. And I was able to apply all of everything that I had learned and everything I came to understand and put it into this new business. And I had a lot of fun doing it, actually. What I did was I hired another business coach. I got very clear on the how, built my playbook around it, and it worked. I doubled the revenue, I tripled the profits, I kept the original staff, and I was able to sell it 3 years later. So let's think about business this way. Okay, so we all, as business owners, wear a lot of hats. There's a lot of different things that we do. And even looking at this, there are far more. You think, how do I even get all of it done? And so we want to start organizing all of these tasks. Of course, we have a lot to do, but thinking about where to put them into. And so I put them into these 4 different buckets: teams, operations, visibility, and opportunity. Now, pretty much every role or job that you're doing can fit into one of these 4. Now, from there, I want to simplify it even further and think about this as stability or profits on the back end, or growth or revenue on the front end. And really, our job starts thinking about organizing the company into, I think of it as the back of the house or the front of the house, the roots of the tree or the leaves of the tree. However you want to think about it, the reality is that we have these back end operations that we need to create around a plan, and then we have what the world sees. And to simplify this even further, what is our number one role as an owner, a business owner, a founder, a CEO, whatever you want to call yourself? What is the number one role that we really need to focus on? And I believe that's create. It's our job to create jobs. It's our job to create opportunities, to create new services, ideas, new products, new systems, right? And so, really, this is our job. If we are not creating, that means we are too down in the weeds. We are too down in the operational, and we are stuck putting out fires and being everybody's savior, trying to answer all of the questions. We are not in the right role. We need to get back up into this, thinking about the stability or profits on the back end, the growth and the revenue on the front end, but really creating. And if you're not there, how you can get there is slowly get into more and more strategy. I like to think about this as 20% strategy, 10% financial. But the financial, remember, is only telling a story of what happened in the past. It gives clues into where your company is leaking profits or may have holes in the operations. However, we only want to look at that to tell the story of our behavior. And then we also have the operations. If you are down in the operations and you're 100% down there because you don't have time for strategy or the finances, looking at the finances, then we've got to move you up there. So even if it's 5%, if it's 10%, whatever that is, we want to slowly move you up there. But I often think about this like my meditation teacher said, if you don't have time for meditation, you're the exact person who needs to be meditating. And I would say that about a business owner as well. If you don't have time for strategy, you're the exact person who needs strategy. Let's look at the company as a roadmap. So every company typically starts in survivor or idea phase, or thinking about the product or service that they want to bring into the world. And then you produce it, you make sure that it gets done, and then you become the operator in your business and a builder. Now, most people get stuck between shifting between this operator and builder into this owner and into the executive. And why they get stuck is because when you're in this line, you're putting all of your effort into building something. And the real shift becomes into the owner and the executive about letting go, about developing people. And Stephen Bartlett said that he's stopped focusing on working so hard and started focusing on who can help him and the talented people that could help drive his business to the vision and direction that he was growing to. And so it's the same concept. And this is what I'm trying to get through, is that we have to shift our role at every stage of this business. So there are tons, thousands of things that we could do in our business, that we should do in our business. All of these messages, we're getting bombarded and there's so much noise out there. And so this is really what I wanted to design, was a clear method that made it simplified and helped you understand what to focus on now. I'm also a big believer in finding the alignment that works for you, because what works for you may not work for somebody else and vice versa. So this is the clear method. We focus on clarity, leadership, execution, awareness, and then results. And to stay high level here, we want to think about the W questions. We want to get out of the how. If you're asking yourself, how am I going to grow the customers? How am I going to find the staff? How am I going to get more revenue? We're asking the wrong questions. We want to stay in high level strategy questions, which I call the W questions. So let's go through them. The first one is clarity. Your high level question here is where? Where are you taking the direction of the company? And I want to grow is not a clear enough plan. Now, you may laugh at that, but often I hear a lot of goals, or I hear people talk about maybe what they want to achieve, but that's far different than the vision of a company. Your timeline should be at least 3 to 5 years. It used to be 10, but I find with AI and all of time just feels different, doesn't it? Where it's things just feel sped up. So I like to focus more on 3 to 5 years. And strategy is really just understanding what to prioritize, right? What to focus on, and keeping the end in mind, your exit strategy in mind. Because again, every company and every business owner wants to grow. Everybody does. But what do you really want? Do you want to become the biggest in the world like a Coca-Cola? Do you just want to get a heavy retirement payout? So you're focused on a sellable business? Are you focused on franchising, maybe generational wealth? Maybe you want to keep the company, become more passive in it, and just stay on the board. Everybody has a different idea on how they want to grow. And when you understand that, you design the business a bit differently according to the alignment of what you want. When I start with a company and take on a company, the first thing that we do is a financial investigation. And that also helps me get very clear on where some of the leaks and some of the holes in the company are, or the constraints of the business currently are. The financial investigation, remember, the finances only tell the story to the behavior of the owner. Now, I want to grow again is not enough of a clear enough strategy. Without a clear plan, you are aimless, which means you are never going to get quality, high achieving staff, high producers in your company. You will always be stuck doing the work yourself, and you will not have a sellable business. You'll only be able to sell off your assets. And the next phase is the leadership. This is the L. I go deeper into this in a different video. Each one of these, I'll go deeper into a different video. But the high level question here is who? Are you doing too much in your business? And if so, we need to shift you from the operator into the owner of your business. We need to shift you from having employees into developing leaders. And you have to know your own role as well. Again, you can't expect everybody else around you to grow if you're not growing. You can't have scattered energy, you can't have scattered ideas, because that creates a scattered company, right? And then you're frustrated when people don't know what they're supposed to be doing. But the reality is it all starts with leadership. Everything starts from the top down. And if you want to grow, you have to let go. This is a saying that I continuously remind myself of every day. If you want to grow, you have to let go. I can do it better myself is not a mindset of growing. And the strength of the leader is the weakness of the business. So if you are really good at sales or you are really good at finances, often you become the hindrance of the business at some point. And we've got to figure out how to get you out of the way, respectfully, of course. This chart really helps me understand how I wasn't growing, right? So when I first started my company, I thought I had to grow one employee by one employee. And so then I would grow one, everything's great. I hire more and more. And then I get to about 5 or 6, and then it would automatically reset to about 3. And that's where my frozen tears moment came in. And then I realized I had to move up, and you can stay in a pitfall number, but not for about a year. And you have to either have a growth plan to get out into the next level, or you need to stay at this smaller one for a while. Now, why this is important is because this isn't around revenue, this is around the number of employees. So this creates the efficiencies in your business, and it becomes highly inefficient because of the lines of communication when you get into these pitfall numbers. And you'll start seeing that it's really divisible by 5 or 7, because that helps to design, that's a good amount of number per teams. So that's why we start looking at these numbers. Now we're going to move into the execution. This is the E of the clear method. This is the what is the high level question. What it is not is how. Typically, people want to put the how into the operations because it can be an operational question. But remember that we are leaders and we're asking strategic questions. We're not asking managerial questions. So, what is your highest impact for today? Your best ROI for today? Your easiest wins? What are the biggest constraints in your business currently? What are you ignoring, and what are your break-even points or your profit margins? These are the high-level what questions. Now, when we design, we have the leaders in the right place. We have the leaders help us execute and create systems around the more managerial how of the systems. Now, what systems are not, they are not willpower, they are not motivation, they're not even a plan nor a goal, they're not even an intention. What they are is they are a process and they are a procedure. And we also need to make sure that we have the resources to make sure that we are giving the people what we're asking of them, the right resources to be able to execute well. Now, processes, this is what we expect, the issues that consistently rise up in our business, and knowing what continuously comes up, so that if you're answering the same question over and over and over, that means there's not a good enough process in place. And then we have a procedure. This is built for repeatability or dependability. And then again, making sure that we have the right resources. This could be a resource library, videos of explanation so somebody could go back to it on knowing how to do it, making sure that they have the right tools to execute with it. So, for example, let's say I owned a barber shop, and in that process, I know that we have a 40-minute haircut. The process is a 40-minute haircut, and we then have to have a procedure. So, in that 40-minute haircut, we now have a procedure around how to speak to a client, how to greet a client, how much time they have to cut the hair, maybe the tools that we require to cut that hair. And then again, if we're asked, and then maybe at the end, enough time for product. Now, a resource might be that we make sure that they have the right sanitation in place. Maybe there's guides on how to give a proper haircut, or they've gone through training. Maybe if we're asking them to sell product, we don't have expired products on the shelf and they don't smell nice. So we have to make sure that everything is aligned for what we are asking our staff to do. Now, this is awareness and visibility, otherwise known as sales and marketing. The high level question here is why? Why are the customers buying from you? Well, why are they coming back to you, right? We have to get very clear on our messaging here. We have to know our customer better than they know themselves. We have to know the emotion of the customer, why they want to come in and spend their hard earned money with you. And we also have to understand that acquiring a new customer is the most expensive way to get a customer. So we have to make sure that we're keeping the customers and utilizing our existing customers, having marketing campaigns within our existing customers and not ignoring them, trying to chase new customers all of the time. And then once we have that down, we have make sure we have a ROI, a good return on investment for our marketing plan. And then and only then do we hand it off to a marketing team. Remember, the marketing team should be asking your how. They don't know the essence of your business. It's tough to outsource the essence of your business. The more you can answer that aligned with who you are and where you're taking the company, a lot of these questions answer themselves much easier. And then they, as a marketing team, figure out how to deliver that best message into the world and maximize the ROI on the money spent. Now, you need to also increase the value of your company through consistency. We don't want a one hit wonder marketing plan and then the numbers start going down. We want to create a consistent, proven method that works around marketing so that we're always getting in new customers, so that we're always developing that growth, so that when we go to sell the company, there's a level of consistency. Now, I've heard this a lot with business owners. I've tried everything, but the truth is that we don't unlock that proven method. And so, what might work for somebody else, or we might have the wrong things in the wrong order, but we have to unlock that formula that works. And sometimes that takes a little bit of patience. And notice this is step 4, not step number 1. Again, having a clear marketing plan is not a clear company plan. Marketing is marketing, awareness is awareness, branding is branding, but it is not the essence of the growth of your company. It's only a portion of it, because even if you get new customers in, that's very expensive, but you can't keep them, or you have a poor churn rate, or you have burn through rate. All of this stuff is really going to impact the bottom line. We have to make sure that we can keep the customers as well. Then comes the results. The high level question is when? When we start stepping back in our business? When can we start looking for these other opportunities, maybe acquiring or growing or expanding, whatever it may be? And remember that this can mean passive income as well. So it could be you might be working 7 days, right? When can I step back to working 4 or 5 days a week? And we want to test this slowly, slowly. 2 weeks at a time is what it begins with. And it's really nervous for business owners to do this. It's almost like new mothers, right? Like we want to be able to step back, but you're not only testing yourself, you're testing the customers and you're testing your staff as well. And what happens is the holes will show themselves, but that's okay because we go back and we iterate the processes and the procedures all based around what isn't being fulfilled or what isn't being met to your criteria. And we fix that. And eventually you'll be able to step back for 4 weeks and then 8 weeks. And I can prove that this works. I was traveling the world for 8 weeks at a time, only checking in once a week with my leadership team. And not only did people not do anything, we were actually growing when I was away for those 8 weeks at a time. So it does work, but you have to trust the process and you have to trust the system. And again, you cannot expect change from other people if you're not doing it yourself, which leads me to the role needs to change and evolve. You need to fix the biggest constraint, develop your leadership team. Now, you don't rise to your goal, you fall to your systems. And expansion here is key. And I want to bring up this point, and this one hit me hard when I first hit it. And so I want to bring it to you as respectfully as I can. But you say you desire peace, but you've run on chaos for so long. Are you really ready for it? And what I mean by that is when I work with business owners, often what I see is that they think around them is chaos and fail to realize that sometimes they are the chaos. Because when it is peaceful and when they are able to rely on their staff, they feel a bit unsettled. And so what happens is naturally out of familiarity, they recreate chaos. And why people do this is because there's a level of importance in it. There's a bit of ego along with this because when you create chaos around you, you become the savior. Everybody runs to you with the questions and you have the answers. You are the one that everybody gets to go to. And so when I find business owners stuck, they're stuck in this cycle of the staff runs to them, they answer the questions. If there is peace, they stir up a bit of chaos again. And so you've asked for leaders, but have you become a stronger leader yourself? And again, you are the ceiling of your business. The only way your business can grow is through you expanding. And it is usually a direct reflection of yourself. And so whether that's either chaos, you're growing quickly, but there's chaos in your company, or you're too afraid to grow, that usually is a reflection of the owner. And so effort has gotten you to this point. It has gotten the results in your business. Another way to put that is it's worked up until this point. However, it is not going to be what works to get you to the next phase of business. So, in that becomes you having to let go. So, if you want something different, you have to do something different. Now, this was my first journey back in 2018 when I first hired my first business coach. And I remember feeling a little embarrassed and almost ashamed. And what got me through it and helped me understand it differently, because I relate a lot of things to athletics, is that every Olympic athlete has a coach. Nobody goes to the Olympics without a coach. And the reason is because they have a natural innate athletic ability already. But each phase of athleticism requires a new level of professionalism. So what got you in high school or what got you championships in high school is not going to get you a championship in the NBA, right? There are different phases, so you need different coaches along the way. This helped me understand because there was a bit of a proving, trying to prove my worth, trying to prove I was good enough. But once I understood this, I got into more of a learning mode and more of an education mode of figuring out the formulas in what works. Let's say you're running a marathon or you're signing up for a boxing match. Now, training is inevitable. You have to have it. You have to make sure that your body can handle a boxing match, that it can get to the finish line through endurance or through the right food and energy. And that has to happen. But there's also the mindset of you having to know that you have the ability to finish that race, that you can envision it, that you can envision winning that boxing match, because why would you step into a boxing match if you're not stepping in knowing that you can win it, right? Because that would be messy. And it's really when these two come together. You have the training and you have the mindset. And this, my friends, is where the magic happens. This is where the transformation comes, is when you really blend both. And this is what happened for me. Now, I was able to unlock all of these things after I really started developing both the skill sets around mindset and what I was actually putting my energy and my resources towards. I was able to interview Mark Wahlberg and be invited to stage. This is when James Irving happened for me. I was on the cover of Today, won awards, and I was on the cover of, or I wasn't, but I did the hair for the cover of Italian Vogue. I hit 100,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And this was actually a success story that somebody else used. I was their success story. So they just used that actually in 2025. They probably need new content, but either way, it's kind of fun. And so what happens is, if you've never been in this situation, or you're kind of, again, still not knowing or understanding what to focus on, it really can feel overwhelming, right? And you kind of just don't know what you don't know. And so this was Susan, somebody that I worked with, who was running a business for a long time, a long, long time, and was quite successful, but she wanted to move into retirement, which meant that she needed a new skill set to be able to sell her business. And so when that happened, she knew she had to do it differently, but she was really unsure how. And so she would revert back to what was familiar and revert back to what made her successful in the first place. But again, what made her successful and where she wanted to go were no longer in alignment. So she needed a new skill set. So what I did is I came in and we started a financial investigation, figuring out where the holes and the leaks are, what to focus on first, creating the plan on what she really wanted. And then with that plan, what became so imperative was that rather than reverting back to the familiar and what she knew, she was able to go back to the plan. And so when things came up and things got a little frustrating or tricky, she went back to the plan, not her old habits. And I will tell you, as soon as you get really clear, something universal happens, the universal law of mental direction, which is you start magnetizing and you stop forcing what you think you want and start aligning. So you start attracting, and it becomes incredibly powerful. And I've seen it time and time again. This also happened with, I was working with a client and she said, I don't have time for this. I just don't have time. I'm just going to take on a partner. I said, okay, wait, before you take on a partner, because partners are expensive, it can be messy. It doesn't free up your time per se. And so let's just focus on what you really want. So she wanted to franchise. So we focused all of our time and energy on focusing or making a plan towards franchising. And what happened was she had lost trust in making decisions. So she wanted to take on somebody because she was thinking that they maybe had the answers that she didn't. But working with me was able to ask her the right questions to be able to unlock. And since then, she's become a much better leader herself. She stepped up. I've seen her company evolve so much, and it's just really incredible. And one of the things that my favorite thing she said was, I asked her in the beginning when we started working together if she was a micromanager, and she said, no, not at all. And then some time kind of went on and it was like, maybe I'm a micromanager. But she said to herself, she thought she was just detail oriented. So if you're very detail oriented, it could be a justification of micromanaging. So now you realize that maybe tomorrow it's just not, the answer isn't just going to appear out of anywhere, right? The overwhelm isn't just going to go away. We've got to get you into a plan, something that is digestible, that doesn't make you feel overwhelmed, so you revert back to your old habits. And no hiring is going to be your growth plan, and no marketing is just going to solve all of the issues, because again, we've got to make sure that we're keeping the customers that we're getting as well, and that we're developing people so that the systems help support our growth moving forward. And these are 6 signs that you're kind of stuck. Now, when I first worked with a business coach, he told me that I was standing in the fog, right? I'm standing in the fog with a bunch of trees. So in every direction that I turn, all I see is trees. I can't see even 1 meter ahead of me because it all looks the same. And so the only way to really make any sort of change is by taking action. You've got to walk in one direction, even if it's the wrong direction. Eventually, you'll lead the fog and go, okay, and start realigning according to where you are. I also think about this as a storm, right? So you're out in the middle of sea and you have a plan and things are going well, but the storm knocks you off your game and it pushes you out many, many meters, right? And you've got to recorrect and realign to be able to get back in the right direction again. So again, these are 6 signs that you're stuck. You're probably doing too much yourself, analysis by paralysis. You've lost trust. Maybe you've made a few too many bad decisions, so you just don't even trust your own decision anymore. I've been there myself. And maybe it's you simply, you want to grow, you're ready, you just don't know how to grow. There's that as well. And then the identity lock of no one can do it better than myself, or the I can't find the right staff, or if I could just find someone to help me. All of that is really saying that you know best and you need to be able to leverage people better. Then there's the financial fear or the confusion. Even if you have money, what do I spend it on? Those kind of things, or of course, a combination, which is probably the reality. So we've got to get into streamlining your business. Again, this requires action. We need to get you out of that fog. And how you do that is if you're ever stuck, if you're ever in a place of transition, maybe a close loved one died, maybe a partner in business walked away, which can feel like a death sometimes. And we underestimate the amount of pain that can cause the betrayal. It can be really tough. We have to go back to that C. We have to kind of figure out what is best for us and our alignment, and again, where are we taking the company. And this is going to give us our power back, and it's going to make us a better leader. And then once we have this clear direction, it empowers your employees. The hiring, the firing, the making decisions, and the staying focused becomes far easier. And the company will start flowing and start growing again. And this is what we're looking for. We need to free up your time. And again, this, my friends, is education. We put so much reward and emphasis and credibility on these college degrees, and we finish college at, say, 20 something, and then it's like we stop. But we can't. We have to continue to educate ourselves, and we have to continue to reinvent ourselves. And I'm actually doing a lot of research right now on the reinvention strategies, because time is different today. What worked 100 years ago just isn't working today. So again, we need to get really clear. And just to recap, this is the clear method. The clarity is designing around the strategy to give you focus. What to focus on first? What is going to be the biggest impact in your business today over the next 90 days? Then developing your leadership team, getting the right butts in the right seats, then working on execution, having your leadership help you execute these ideas, designing the systems to support your business rather than you supporting your business constantly. Because if you're the one supporting your business, you will never get to that next level of growth, because you're going to be able to tap out in what you can actually get done in a day. So you're going to need more. And then awareness, of course. The awareness is the sales and visibility, focusing on those strong ROIs, making sure our marketing plan is highly targeted to attract and to align, so that we start having the energy of everybody coming to us rather than us going out and trying to push our message onto the world. And then we'll have the results. This is moving out of the business and finding those opportunities. Maybe it's expansion and you're opening up new locations, or whatever it is. There are tons of possibilities and opportunities in this world, and the results is a fun place to be. A lot of people ask me, what's your number one business advice? And my number one business advice is invest in yourself. The second one is invest in people. I am pro AI. I am pro where I'm excited about the direction that AI is taking us, because I think we're going to see a lot more creativity and a lot more beauty in the world with it. But the reality is AI is never going to buy from you. It will always be people. So I leave you with this thought, which is business is both art and science. Some formulas are proven, but the magic comes when you trust yourself. So if you like this content or it resonates with you, you can reach out, subscribe, or click below in the descriptions to learn more. Thank you so much for your time and efforts. And again, let's design your business around freedom and profits.